for each of you. Choose wisely. Well, the first fellow, of course, is a squiggle, so he's very quick to say, okay, all right, I want to be twice as smart as these other two jerks. And the genie says, aha. And he waves his hand and poof, oh, the fellow feels the synapses exploding in his head. Oh my goodness, suddenly he feels this intelligence that he hasn't had before, and he knows he must have at least 164 now. And he's just thrilled. And, well, the second man has been watching this, and he says, well, I can handle this. You see, he's a little slower on the uptake and maybe a little wiser. He's a triangle. And he says, I'd like to be 5 times smarter than these 2 friends of mine. And so the genie says, of course. And poof, theorems started appearing in his mind. Numbers that he had never seen. He started quoting the great philosophers, and he walked away. And, you could tell that, he was just brilliant now. Well, the box had been waiting and watching, as boxes tend to do. And the box thought to himself, okay, I can handle it. And he said, all right, I want to be 10 times smarter than these 2 guys. And the genie said, well, I don't know. Can you handle this? You know, this is quite a request you're making, Brian. And we don't know if Kevin will agree. So, all right, if you're sure. And he said, yes, I am sure. And so the genie pulled all of his forces together. And he walked over to the man, and he said, poof! And the man was suddenly a woman. Yeah. Gotcha. You know, the humor presentation was so interesting because some people can tell a joke and some can't. And that delivery aspect, you know, haven't you known funny people? Just looking at them makes you laugh. You know the old prison joke? We memorized all the jokes and now we say just the numbers and we laugh. 56, ha ha ha. 47, ha ha ha. 31, nobody laughed. What's the matter? He can't tell a joke. You know that one. Well, we have a wonderful program all prepared for you. And we have some wonderful entertainers on every kind of level. And we have more jokes coming for you. And we may have some surprises as we go along. Something that's not on this agenda. What do you think? Isn't this a gorgeous agenda? Yes. Program that we have for you. Yes. Maybe you can take with you. And we are going to go in order. And we're going to begin, for the boxes, we're going in order. And we're going to begin with what really is...
Bravo.
Wow. Would anyone like an encore?
Wow.
We're going to have one at the end of the program. Caspar will return for us. He is so wonderful. I've got goosebumps. I bet the rest of you do too. As you can see at the bottom of the agenda, it says the audience should expect some unannounced surprises. And we have one of those right now that is not on the list. And you have a colleague here named Karen Hickey. And I also learned some secrets from each of these people before so that I could introduce them properly. And something that maybe you don't know. I don't know if you know that Karen has climbed the Matterhorn. And when she got to the top, there was a goat who told her she was on the wrong mountain. But she did try. So Karen?
Well, we're going to shift from that wonderful Chopin back to humor, and you get to decide what kind of humor this is. This is a story about a trucker. Well, this trucker was on a long cross-country haul, and he'd driven for days, and he was very tired, and he was bored, and could just something happen to break all this, to give me a little relief, make me happier. Well, he kept driving and driving across Nevada, and my gosh, he saw something. Is that what I think it is? It's a woman. She's a woman. Oh, she's hitchhiking. Oh, man, I'll give her a ride. And so he stops his 18-wheeler, and he says to this lady, "Hi there, you want a ride?" She said, "Oh, yes, God, I've been walking for hours." "Well, why don't you just hop on in?" And so they drove for a while, and they talked and visited, and finally he says, "Oh, how about we have a little fun? You know, this has just been such a long trip, and we could just have a little fun." And she says, "Well, there's no place we could go around here for fun. There are no hotels, there are no motels, there are no guest houses, there's just nothing but the flat country." And he said, "Oh, that's all right, honey." He says, "We'll just crawl under my truck and have a little fun." And so she said, "All right." She crawls under the truck with him, and she said, "Well, my gosh, well, what are you going to do if somebody comes along?" And he says, "Well, I'll just tell them I'm working on my transmission." Okay. So some time passes, and he feels a kick on his foot, and a male voice says, "What are you doing there?" And he says, "I'm working on my transmission." And the guy says, "Well, if I were you, I'd work on my brakes. Your truck is 50 yards down the road."
Thank you, Karen. All right, we are now going to hear the Nervous Blues from Ina Bendis. And, you know, I ask everyone secrets, and Ina has just done so many things in her life. It was very difficult to identify one thing, but she did tell me that her musical talent comes from her Aunt Ethel. Her Aunt Ethel Merman taught her to belt out a song.
So, before I commit what I hope will be many benign violations, I was wondering if there are any psychiatrists in the audience.
Yes.
Any psychiatrists? Wonderful. I need you to be my straight man. Okay?
What do
All
you
right.
need to do?
Just sit there.
All right.
You can handle it, right? Okay. So, I don't have a cheat sheet. I'm nervous. Shrinky pie, I wanna cry. I feel so anxious like I'm gonna die. Oh, I've got the nervous blues. I feel so panicky, see how I shake. I need some medication, honey, what can I take? Yeah, whoop-de-doo, I've got the nervous blues. Don't give me Inderal, if you please, 'cause I have asthma and it makes me wheeze. And Mipramine, don't want none of that, makes my heart go pitter-pat. Xanax is good for panic attacks, but it puts my equilibrium out of whack. Yeah, yeah, I've got the nervous blues. Not till, what a pill. When I drink red wine, it makes me ill. Yeah, yeah, whoop-de-doo, I've got the nervous blues. Well, honey, Thorazine treats me mean. It makes my muscles go betwixt and between. Being a bob and tall ain't no good at all. When I withdraw, I climb the walls. Librium and Valium, when they give me some, I get so sleepy that my mind goes numb. Yeah, yeah, I've got the nervous blues. But when I try booze to drown my blues, I find my mind gets all confused. Yeah, yeah, whoop-de-doo, I've got the nervous blues. Well, honey, lithium, what do you think? It makes me so thirsty, wanna drink, drink, drink. Desiree, affectionate ain't. When I stand up, I fall in a faint. I gave a try to vilify, but my vision got blurry and my mouth got dry. Yeah, yeah, I got the nervous blues. I've had my fill of garlic pill, echinacea, St. John's wort, what you will. Yeah, yeah, whoop-de-doo, I've got the nervous blues. Well, hun, when Spa was a new star. Well, hun, when Spa was a new star, what a hoo-ha they made, so I bought it, but I thought it did not make the grade. I sang to the skies about SSRIs, but my anorgasmia turned off all of the guys. I've been fed so many, many meds, I think I'll see a shrink and straighten out my head. Yeah, yeah, I've got the nervous blues. I'm gonna lie on the couch and get rid of this curse. The only side effect will be on my purse. Yeah, yeah, whoop-de-doo, I'll get rid of these anxiety blues. Are there any lawyers in the audience?
Oh, no.
Mr. Zimmerman? Are there any lawyers in the audience?
Yeah.
I think so.
Scary.
I am the very model of a modern legal medical. I understand and parry every complex hypothetical. My mind is analytic and my logic is impeccable. In depositions and in trials, I'm totally undeckable. High photographic memory and speed reading facility. Left, right brain, intellectual and creative ability. My testimony's confident, consistent and unflappable. So even in the trickiest cross, I'm totally untrappable. My skill at teaching anything to anyone at any time is awesome, and the visual aids that I provide are so sublime that jurors never fail to understand the grounds on which I base the strong foundation for my views in each and every legal case. My reputation, ethics, and integrity are so well known that when opposing counsel see me named as expert, they all groan. Credentialed to the hilt I am, from pedicle to pedicle. I am the very model of a modern legal medical.
Now, that's creativity. Can we have copies of some of that, Kitty-O?
Yes.
I would have to make it out and email it to Ed.
Oh, okay, good. I want the one for lawyers for sure. I speak to lawyers a lot. Wonderful. All right. Do you have something for us now, Karen?
Oh, just a little quick one. Do you know why ladies my age don't have babies?
Oh, no.
Do you know why ladies my age, older ladies, don't have babies? We'd set them down somewhere and forget where we left them.
Oh. All right. Now we will have an instrumental for your pleasure. And this will be our own Clyde Snider. And I believe this is Clyde's first time to come to the gathering, the Niner gathering. And he is a virtuoso trombonist. And the secret he told me was his wife doesn't know this, but occasionally he sneaks off to New Orleans and plays jazz trombone on Bourbon Street. All right. Clyde, you're on.
Yay!
Thank you very much, Susan. Well, before I play, hasn't this weekend been great?
Yeah.
It is such a great time. Yes, and Leah, right. Several months ago, Ed and I had been talking about maybe having this meeting in Little Rock, but Ed decided that Denver would be a better place than Little Rock, and I thought, well, okay, but I disagreed. But when I came, I thought, what is it that Denver has that Little Rock didn't have? And so Saturday, I went down on 16th Street Mall and walked down, and I went into a men's store, and I found out that the salesmen in this town are brutal, very brutal. I went in, and the man had a young man up there in front of the mirrors, and he had a suit on him that was way too big. It looked like it was 1970s with wide lapels. And he was telling the young man about how great he looked in his suit. And he says, man, it's way too big. It's true. There's no way this thing will do. He said, man, that's the latest style. You just don't know how to wear it. You said, you know how the kids now are wearing their pants down halfway off their butt? He said, that's been cool, but that's going out. Now it's what you have on. He says, what you do, you take your coat and you pull it back like this, and you pull this side back like this, and you button up the front, and see, now look at yourself. And the guy says, well, yeah, I guess so. It doesn't look halfway bad, but look at these pants. They're so big. They're falling off of me. He said, well, you take this one like this, and you put your elbow down like this, and then you take this side and put your elbow down like this, and then like this. The guy says, that doesn't look halfway bad. That's pretty good. So I'll take it. You sure it's the latest style? He said, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, this second was brutal. And so the guy walks out he wears it out of the store. And he's walking down the street, and I walk behind him. And he's walking down the street, and he meets this couple. And they walk, as they get even with him, they turn and they look at him. And by the time they get even with me, I hear the woman say to the man, dear, did you see that? Wasn't that just pitiful? He said, yes, dear, but didn't his clothes fit him nice? All right, now, before I show you, before I play the trombone, I want to tell you a minute about how I became a virtuoso trombonist. I started out in the third grade. And you know how some people have an imaginary friend? Well, I didn't have an imaginary friend. I had my trombone. My trombone was my friend. And I would if people would play with their imaginary friends, I would play with my trombone. Or as we call it in the profession, my bone. I would play, and I would go into my closet because I was a shy person. And I would go into my closet to play my bone. And I was very shy, and I wouldn't let anyone see me play my bone, but I would go in there and do it. And as I got older, and when I became a teenager, I had a little bone when I was a young guy. But when I became a teenager, I had a much larger bone. And so one night, I still hadn't shown anybody my bone or played it in front of anyone. So I went out on a date one night, and I told my date about my bone. And she said she wanted to see my bone and wanted to see me play my bone. So I took her back home, and we went into the closet, and I took my bone out. And she was very impressed, and she said she wanted to see me play my bone. So I played my bone for her there. And she got real excited. And she said she wanted to touch my bone. So I let her, and it was a life-defining moment for me. And I decided right then that it was time for me to come out of the closet and exposed my bone to the world. So the rest is history, as they say. But over the years, in the last few years, my performance level has gone down considerably. In fact, the last couple of years, it's been non-existent, to tell you the truth. But when Ed told me about this talent show, I thought, well, maybe I can get it up one more time. So tonight, with the help of my lovely and talented accompanist, Mr. Ed Schreiber, we're going to do Cole Porter's Night and Day. Can you believe I brought this all the way from Little Rock?
And I have to tell you that story. We almost didn't have Clyde because he had to have this special trombone. Now, tell us what's so special about that trombone, that you had to have that one.
Well, I had to have one with an F attachment so I could put a pencil in and slide.
So you
I
can
don't play
with it.
trombone, I play tenor horn and trumpet.
Well, something the man who spoke on humor didn't tell you is that men and women have different senses of humor for sure, and that men tend to particularly find humorous jokes and stories about bodily functions and about their own private parts. So it's not always as witty, however, as Clyde presented it. But of course, we all know that men have bigger brains than women. But we also know that women have more complex brains. So we get even a little bit that way. Okay, I have a joke for the men, all right? What happened to the young girl who had the lowest SATs in high school? She got an Alabama football scholarship. That's my husband's joke. You better laugh.
You got that wrong. It was Auburn.
What, Jesse?
You got it wrong. It was Auburn University.
Oh, it's Auburn.
All the jokes are on Auburn.
Oh, no, yeah, but isn't Alabama the top guy right now? I don't know. Okay. That was so. Now, we have some talent in this group, don't we?
Yeah.
And we have some talent? Boy, pretty cool. Including this little skinny guy who runs around all the time. He's pretty good, too. Okay. From the mountains of the Ozarks to the plains of Nebraska, the dulcimer, the hammer dulcimer, and a good old country boy with a high IQ named James. And he is in the back with that beautiful instrument ready to play for you. You're on, James. about the rest of you, but I hope, James, you leave the instrument out, that we all might be able to see it after the show. It's an incredible thing that you have done. Thank you so much for that. My goodness. A quick one for you. The wife said to the husband, "Honey, let's go upstairs and get frisky." He thought a minute and said, "I can't do both." Okay. Jesse, how you feeling, guy?
Feel bad?
Well, from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, thank God I'm a country boy. We got the banjo.
I warmed up for 10 minutes in the last 3 weeks, too, so. Where's the mic?
Right here.
So you gonna hold it?
I will definitely. I'll do whatever you want.
I checked out there in the hallway, and no one was out there.
Oh.
And if we close the door, we can get away with anything. This is going to be more Ed's show than mine.
Got another song for us?
We'll leave that off. That's going to have any company on that. I need to work with you to get you up to speed. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Tuscaloosa.
Would you mention that this was unrehearsed?
This is a little story about a parrot. These people had a parrot, a female parrot, and she picked up some very bad language. She'd go around the house saying, "I'm a prostitute, I'm a prostitute, let's have a good time." She'd say that when they had company. It was very embarrassing. So they said, "We have to do something about this parrot." And somebody came over and said, "Well, the priests over here at the rectory, they have a couple of male parrots, and they're very pious and very proper and very polite. And they spend the whole day praying and saying the rosary, and none of this kind of stuff from them. So why don't you take your female bird over there with the two male birds and see, maybe they'll have a good influence on her." So by golly, they did that. They took this parrot over to the rectory, and she comes on in and she says, "Well, hello, boys. I'm a prostitute. How about a good time? Hello, boys. How about a good time?" And one of these nice, polite parents said to the other one, "Oh, Sammy, put your beads down. Our prayers are answered."
that same parent, in order to break her of those bad habits, one of the techniques that they learned to use was put her in the freezer. And they only had to do that one time, because when she came out, then she didn't say anything bad anymore, because she said, "Boy, I'm not going to swear anymore, because I wonder what that chicken said in there." All right. There was a 999er named Walli. When hiking, she was so jolly. We appreciate her every day because she is our Edna St. Vincent Millay. Betsy.
Robert Frost said, "One of the figures of poetry you never hear mentioned is extravagance. A poem can be a little extravaganza. And to what extent is it excessive? And can you go with it? Some people can't. And people hold you. You say something sad or something pessimistic and something cynical, and they forget to allow for the extravagance of poetry. That you're not saying that all the time. That's not a doctrine you're preaching. The extravagance lies in, it sometimes seems as if. And that is the spirit in which I offer you these poems. Erratum. There's been a mistake. It would be too painful if this were happening to me. It must be happening to someone else. Besides, it can't happen to me. Surely my marriage will be in the 99th percentile, just like my test scores. Furthermore, it can't be you saying and doing these things, because you love me, and I don't recognize this stranger who hurts me. As you leave. As you leave and leave and leave, you are pulling out of me a huge non-native plant or weed. Its tapered taproot reaching deep into my flesh, and my own bones and nerves and blood vessels have grown into the flaws in its rough skin. There is no way to pull it all out clean. The sword-like root, as it withdraws, is wet with blood and flecked with raw red shreds and fragments, parts of me that would not let you go, though they were ripped alive and streaming from my core. The tip breaks off and stays inside of me. Holodeck. I felt just like trash. I had been thrown away and it hurt. It was horrible then. But to stay in that pain here and now is the choice of a rainy, gray, self-programmed holodeck world. While outside, life goes on, children grow, pain subsides, opportunities slide. Still, I choose to remain and relive all of it, trying to make it unhappen or just make it fit, seeking more and more data to know I've not missed or misjudged anything. And as long as I stall here, I keep running at the brick wall, hoping this time it falls. I have ventured outside and found brilliant sun, a release on my heart like a stricture undone, and the buoyancy after a burden's laid down. Things looked brighter and clearer. My mind was set free to think other thoughts, and I felt sweet, unexpected relief. But my changing made others around me change too, and the ground shifted under my new attitude. The holodeck beckoned, with research to do. But I doubt what I find, and I fight what I know, and I freeze when I try to let go of the one thing I've known. Because it's not only pain I'd be losing, it's life as I knew it, our love running through it, the sight of his face in the crowd at the end of a flight. And a million moments when we were the best, so entwined and committed, no test threatened our happiness. Harder still to let go of is what could have been, if he'd only been willing and hadn't dug in, or if I hadn't ever agreed to begin compromising my principles, living with what was so wrong by not feeling, saying, but that's not him, that's not us. And the hardest to live with is being the one to declare that it's dead. Hope and treatment are done. There I stall like a plane and come tumbling down. For this project has been my life's work. If I stop, all I gave and gave up were for naught, and I can't bear that thought. Core. I thought that love was conqueror, and anyone whose marriage failed had never really loved at all. But now I see I was naive. Love can survive and even grow beneath the anger that conceals accumulated fears and hurt, building up like layers on a snowball as it rolls and picks up dirt, debris, and slimy, smelly memories of what it's been through, while unseen deep in the center, under hard-packed detritus, hides a pure, clean beginning. Weathering. Wind, help me go away, blow away, back to a kinder day, find a way out of the maze I'm in. Rain, wash away the stain, days of pain left in my torn apart, tender heart. Let it be light again. Snow, cover up my tracks, hide the path, keep me from going back when I lack courage and clarity. Sun, bleach my reveries, my memories, don't let me dwell in these miseries, pointless soliloquies. Grief set me free. And now a hiking one. Dreaded Hill in August 2003. I made it to the base of Dreaded Hill just as the sun came up above the ridge. Long shadows fell across the trail that rose before me, steep and lovely. Welcome partner for my muscled legs. Wild bunnies froze as I approached, then zigged and zagged into the brush, like children caught in Daddy's chair when he walks in the room. We let them have this wilderness, but take an easement for ourselves, a web of bare dirt overlaid with tracks of mountain bikes and shoes, and only an occasional hoof or paw or claw. The first one out, I broke the strands, spun overnight across the path, my thoughts on those who left the tracks that I was walking on, when unexpectedly I saw a paw print, then another one. Mountain lion tracks, I told myself. I've never seen them here before. How curious to see them now, with last week's scary hike still on my mind. That day, the sun was getting low when 10 of us began a shorter, flatter hike, no time for Dreaded Hill. But as we reached the big hill's base, I over-optimistically said if we hurried, we could make it up and back before the darkness fell. 6 sensibly stayed just a bit more on the cow trail, then went back, while foolishly we 4 let wishes win and headed up to Dreaded after all. My children and my niece and me as the responsible adult. The sun descended as we climbed and fully set before we stood upon the peak and twirled to see the view. Still, I thought if we just ran the whole way down, we'd almost make it back around the time the others did. My first unease came when, still near the top, we came around a bend and saw below a beautiful array of city lights. Our conversation turned to animals, which were nocturnal. When did lions hunt? Darkness was coming faster than our feet could run, especially when we had to stop for side aches. Then as we neared the bottom of the hill, in fading but still serviceable light, we looked up from our feet and saw the trail become a dense black hole within the trees we'd loved so for their shade. Now we talked of fairy tales with scary forests and grabbing trees, Snow White, Hansel and Gretel, the Wizard of Oz. And as we pushed on through the dark, we stayed together and yelled to whoever, "Don't mess with us," and then we were out of the trees, back on an opener trail for a while until we encountered the darkest part through shady live oak trail along the stream, where we had to go slower and feel with our feet for rocks and roots across the trail as we awkwardly walked holding hands in single file. Before that night, I'd never feared a mountain lion on a hike, although I knew they must be living there. Once I came upon a man studying a patch of sand he said contained a mountain lion print. I couldn't see it and went on my way. I'd read the signs, of course, but then my life is littered with so many silly signs and overcautious warnings that I no longer really take them in. Besides, I'd read that mountain lions hunted just at dusk and dawn, and I was always several hours from either. But not today. I found these tracks when I had just been reveling and setting out before the sun appeared. For 20 minutes up the hill, I followed an unbroken record of the lion's earlier ascent. I felt it was a privilege to come so close to an elusive, unseen, almost fabled wild one, and took care to preserve the fragile, purposeful, unbroken line for others to admire after me. The tracks were fresh and undisturbed. I half expected to catch up and walked with eyes and ears at full alert. Once I jumped when near the trail, a sudden rustling arose, the flapping of some birds that I disturbed. This mountain lion didn't inadvertently or hesitantly cross the trail as deer or bunnies would. He used it just as people do, as if he owned it, threatening my easy claim of human territory. Over the next few weeks, I saw new tracks on new trails each time I hiked, even at times in a pair, mother and child. I didn't like my hikes to be so tense, so fearful. I wanted now to step on the tracks and, in erasing them, to make my hikes feel like they did before. Then just as suddenly as they came, they stopped. And as the months wore on with no more tracks, I did relax and walk along with other thoughts again. January 2004. Attacked and killed? Impossible. I was just there. There have been no tracks. At noon? But don't they hunt at dusk and dawn? On Cactus Hill. At least it's not a trail I take, though actually it's very near to where I was at 9. And then again at 4:30. I couldn't have been hungry still. At least tenacious friends helped this one live. The dead man was, as I had been, alone. Oh good, he had no wife or kids, I think, as if that makes him more expendable, his death less horrible. No, he was loved and he is mourned, by whom or how I cannot count, such tragedies too personal to rank. Yet I keep trying to minimize this mess, not let it interfere with my enjoyment of the wilderness. I want to think the lion's death has made it safe for me again to head out with no partner but the trail, in early morning mist so thick that as I walk atop the ridge, it looks as if the world has been erased. Then break through to surprising blue and baking sun, a cloudless sky above a hilltop that's become a shore rising from a silent sea of fog. Okay, it really wasn't safe before. And now it's worse. Last fall's enormous forest fires have made more lions, homeless, hungry, even desperate. It would be foolish now to go into the wilderness alone. Or would it? Is that all there is to it? No, life is always an exchange between a risk and a reward, a weighing of desire versus danger. And oh, how much I love to go into the wilderness alone. How often there I'd spread my arms and grin from sheer morning gladness at the brim. Such love can blur the line between foolhardiness and bravery. It's what leads some to skydiving or racing. I've been back in, but not alone, and not as often as I'd like. It's harder now to find someone who'll go. I may in time go back in there alone.
Kevin, do you need some time to set up? I want to keep that spirit. I think it fits with Kevin's performance. And Kevin, a chair. There you go. You want the stool? There's a stool back there if you want.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I started playing back in the folk music days in the 1960s. And one of the things that really annoyed me about the transition to rock is that in the folk music world, everybody played like this, sitting down. And when the rock revolution came along, it put me at a great disadvantage because this was before I had my hips replaced and I really couldn't do that. But it's still a lot easier because it takes a lot of physical energy to do the guitar, particularly right now because I'm really out of practice. And I apologize that the guitar work will not be perfect, but hopefully it'll be good enough to accompany my singing. So, I want to mention that you probably saw this thing that was briefly on the screen there. Well, there's a computer graphics program that I wrote, and I have it has 35 different screensavers. And it does run on the little computer there. And it's Bob's computer, though, and he said he wanted to do some email tonight. But if we could take a few minutes after the program, anybody who'd like to see it can take a look. So I guess with that, I should, somebody needs to handle the microphone. Hopefully it should be in a place where it kind of divides the difference between the voice and the guitar. Now, one more thing. Of course, I have to play that Chinese song, Tu Ning. See that? What is that? On the long hot road, in dust of summer, through the shimmering lands, where nothing moves until darkness falls, and death comes easy, but sitting with you, looking out at the desert, I can almost hear its call. I know you're bound to travel on a road that is not mine, but my quiet, bitter tears are long since shed. For I don't understand the silent stranger you've become, or your wanderlust. But sitting with you, gazing out at the desert, I can almost hear its call. He has many loves who travels alone. I'm sorry, I got to start again. He has many loves who travels alone. The flowers that bloom in his path tell him sighing, away, come away, down the old iron road. Be true not to me, for new lands are waiting, and you shall know joy ere you come again to touch my fingers in the gentle grove. An endless farewell is the life of a roamer. He sings to the blossoms that bower in his passing. Away I am bound
down the old iron road. I'll see far off shores before I lie dying, and many a hearth ere I come again to touch your fingers in the gentle grove. Hear the jazz band swinging God's 9 billion name. Hear the carnies calling as the world goes up in flames. Hear the children laughing, playing at their games. Hear the high wind blowing as darkness falls. See the billboards flashing, scriptures of the street. See the old men waiting, bitter in defeat. See the lovers walking, silent as they meet. See the high wind blowing as darkness falls. Feel the chill of evening as the sun deserts the sky. Feel the pain of longing for a world of youth gone by. Feel the evening with it. Feel the chill of evening as the sun deserts the sky. Feel right at the end. Hopefully it did okay.
Oh, yes. I don't know about you all, but that put me right back in the no exit coffee house at Northwestern in Chicago. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Well, I have a story for you now about a lady and her bird. Now, this isn't the parrot. I think this is probably a little parakeet or something. And the lady just loved this bird. Oh, he was her constant companion. But he became very ill, and she was worried about him. So she took him to the vet and had the vet examine him. And the vet said, "Oh, I hate to tell you this, but you have a very sick bird here. In fact, he's dead." The lady said, "Oh, he can't be dead. I love him so much. Isn't there something you can do to help him? Maybe he's just unconscious, or maybe he just passed out. So please do something." And Vet said, "Well, okay." He said, "I have my dog here today, and so I'll have my Labrador Retriever come in and give him a look." So Doc brought in his dog, and the dog came over to the examining table, and the dog sniffed and pushed the bird around a little bit. Nah, dog left. The doctor said, "I hate to tell you this, ma'am, but your bird is dead." She said, oh, Doc, it just can't be. It just can't be. I love this bird so much. Isn't there anything else you could do? And the doctor says, well, we do have a cat here. I could bring in the cat. Let the cat observe this bird. So they brought in the cat, and the cat hopped up on the examining table and pushed the bird around a little bit, and jumped off and ran off. And the doctor said, well, he said, now, really, you have to know, your bird is dead. And here's your bill. And she looks at the bill and she said, the bill is $125? Oh, how can that be? And the vet said, well, he said, if you'd taken my word first time, it would have been 25. But with the lab report and CAT scan, it's 125.
All right. By the way, everyone in the talent show, those of you in the back, etc., at the end of, after the finale with Caspar, I'd like everyone up here, and we want to take a picture for Thorsten, etc., of the whole cast, okay? All right. The next act, oh, well, poor woman. Oh, she's come so far. You know, the secret for Lori was she was an orphan. And, oh my, she lived on the streets for so many years in New York, and the only way she could make a living to support herself was being a pole dancer. And the very lucky thing about it for Lori was that as she was doing her dance again and again, the old routine, she started to sing. She started to enjoy adding her voice to her act. And what was so lucky was there was a fellow in the audience one night called Andrew Lloyd Webber, and he saw the beauty and the wonder of this woman, and she became the understudy to Sarah Brighton in Phantom of the Opera. And we are so lucky to have her tonight. Lori doing Broadway ballads.
You are such a story.
Midnight, not a sound from the pavement, as the moon lost her memory. She is smiling alone in the lamplight. The withered leaves collect at my feet, and the wind begins to moan. Memory, all alone in the moonlight, I can smile at the old days. I was beautiful then. I remember a time I knew what happiness was. Let the memories live again. Every street lamp seems to beat a fatalistic warning. A street lamp dies, another night is over, another day is dawning. Daylight, I must wait for the sunrise. I must think of a new life, and I mustn't give in. When the dawn comes, tonight will be a memory too.
those of smoky days, the stale cold smell of morning. A street lamp dies, another night is over, another day is dawning. Touch me, it's so easy to leave me all alone with a memory of my days in the sun. If you touch me, you'll understand what happiness is. Look, a new day has begun. Thank you. So this next song is Somewhere from West Side Story, but it is a song about finding your place to belong. And I think that for you Triple Niners, this is especially an important song for you and finding your place. There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us, peace and quiet and open air waits for us somewhere. There's a time for us, someday a time for us, time together and a time to spare, time to learn, time to share. Somehow, somewhere, we'll find a new way of living. We'll find a way of forgiving somewhere. There's a place for us, a time and place for us. Hold my hand and we're halfway there. Hold my hand and I'll take you there. Somehow, someday, somewhere.
Couldn't be done better on Broadway. And a big hand for Ed Snider. Come on, baby.
I've been receiving just too damn many kudos, and someone has been completely forgotten. My very important assistant, my lover of 37 years, my friend, my wife, Leia, Princess Leia. Would you please acknowledge she has been, without her I couldn't have put this together, you know, and you see all the work that I've done. Thank you very much. That's something that mad people say. Thank you.
Tell everybody there's a set of keys hanging in the ladies' room. I don't know who they belong to.
There's a set of keys hanging in the ladies' room. If they belong to someone. Okay, one last joke. Billy Moeller went down to Churchill to have a cigar a couple days ago, and he sat down and ordered a drink, and the bartender looked like an affable fellow, and all of a sudden the bartender walked away, and all of a sudden he heard a voice say, "Nice tie." There was no one around him. There were people at the tables, but there was no one around him. And he thought, oh, well, I must be hallucinating. So he sipped a little more of his scotch, and all of a sudden he heard a voice say, "Good haircut." And he thought, my goodness, what's happening here? So he called the bartender over, and he said, you know, maybe the music, I don't know what's happened, but somebody said good haircut and everything, and I don't know where that person is. And the bartender said, oh, well, it's the Peanuts. And he said, the Peanuts? And he said, yes, they're complimentary. Oh, Jeff, all right. Okay, we are at the end of our show. Have you enjoyed our show? All right. We have an encore now by Caspar. And he is going to play some more Chopin for us. So please enjoy our final act. Bravo. Now, you stay right up here, Caspar. We're going to take a picture.
So remember, you have to pretend I'm a school bus. If you can see this, I can see you. So.